Okay, good afternoon. Today, my group, me and my partner, will present about chapter 11 about visual aid. Before we start our presentation, we will introduce ourselves. My name is Amelia Septini Simanungkalit.
My name is
My partner.
Sutin.
And now we will start the presentation. Next slide, please.
Wait.
Before I start to explain what is visual aid, the types of visual aids, I will tell you about what is visual aid. Visual aid is an item of illustrative matter. So actually, in every presentation, the presenter used to use this visual aid. Next slide, please. And what is the use of visual aid? Well, this is actually kind of advantageous. So the first thing is visual aids get attention. So when we start to explain and we show the visual aid, it usually will get attention of the audience. So the audience will try to understand it better with our presentation. And the second is the variety. So visual aid will give the variety that will make the presentation less bored. And the third is help memory. With visual aid, people can memorize the presentation better. So they will, if we explain about, Go Green campaign maybe, and we show the visual aids about Go Green, it will make them memorize the presentation better. And the fourth is take time. Visual aids can make the time of presentation can be less than the presentation without visual aid. And next is same image. So if you explain about, maybe you will tell the audience about home, but every audience have their own way to think, to imagine something. With visual aid, you can make every image in their mind or stick. And next is help the speaker. Help use visual aid can make the presentation easier for the speaker, and it will make the explanation get more clearly and help the speaker's memory. So, and the speaker can like memorize the memorize the memorize the memorize the point of the presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, the disadvantages. Well, visual aids have some disadvantages, and the first one is not as important as the speaker, as we know. Visual aid is just a complement. It's not the point of the presentation. So and this related to the second point, and it can't explain all things. The visual aid can explain the detailed things, and it still needs the presenter to explain the detailed things. And it's related to the point three, the third point too. Need someone to explain, like what I said earlier. It still needs the presenter to explain the detail. And visual aids can be distraction. So using too much visual aids for in the presentation can make the audience just focus on the visual aids, and their attention will get distracted because they will what they will think the visual aids are more interested than the presenter's explanation. And the last thing is hard to control. Uh, if you're using too much visual aids, you as a presenter will hard to control it, and you will think it will be something useless because uh, there will be so much things in the presentation. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, 10 points to watch. This is the points that you need to watch. You need to pay attention if you have presentation. So the first thing is appropriateness. Appropriateness is uh, this is use it only if it's important enough to show the picture, only if it improves the spoken word. And the second is clarity. This means like make sure that the visual aid can be seen clearly, even from the farthest state. You can still see the presentation. And the third one is simplicity. You have to make the visual aid simpler, so the audience will get the presentation clearly, and it's not hard to understand the presentation. And next is large enough. Um, like what I said in polarity point, you have to make a big visual aid so it can be seen in the farthest place. And next is not distracting. So make sure the visual aids help the speaker, not replace the speaker. So don't don't give too much. Don't put too much visual aids. And the next is cover them up. Cover the visual aids while you're changing it, so the audience's attention will stick to yours. And next is give time. Give some time for the audience to make them remember the visual aid. Next is don't talk to it. This is one of the most important things when you present the presentation. As a presenter, you need to talk to your audience, not to talk to your visual aid or to your slide, everything. So pay attention to your audience. Talk to your audience, not to the paper in your hand or the slide uh, behind your back. And then don't hand out random. Um, this actually some experience that I saw from the presenters. Um, they they will give some kind of paper, and in that paper it contains the materials and the details of the presentation. And actually, it's unnecessary because when the audience know the points, the details of the presentation before the presenters start their presentation, it will be useless for them, and they won't give attention to the presentation anymore. So yeah, don't hand out random. And the last one is write everything on the note. Make sure to put everything in the note so you will not forget the use of some slides because there are some presenters that forgot why they put the slides in their presentation. So that's all from me. Now the next slide will be presented by Aisyah.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me, Amel? Okay, thank you, Amel. Next is the many types of visual aids. This section deals with the main group of main group of eight and make a series of points, some small and some large, but all important because the technique of management affect to impression of your thoughts. You should look carefully uh, all the advice that you when you use it regularly. Um, so first is handout. Handout is use use handout is summary of important point from your presentation. So when you want to using handout, try making a handout by your own notes in it. Second is flip charts. Flip chart is seems like blackboard but have better visual impact. The main advantage using flip chart is can be prepared and don't take time when you drawing while you presentation. But the disadvantage using flip chart can also can make your presentation be clumsy and messy, and sometimes your pen nearly be squeaky. So third is blackboard. Blackboard can usable to help speaker explain the sequence of ID routine and use them to clarify your title when you are presentation. And Blackboard can very useful for spontaneous visual, but many people are poor drawers, so it can be useful for someone who can drawing. Uh, Next is slide. Slide slide is photographic image have great clarity and impact. Slide are the next best thing the, to taking the audience attention. But don't use too many slides because a lot of a lot of rapidly changing slide can distract the audience focus. And next is the projection. Projection are picture show upon a screen by the use of certain type of machines. The advantage the advantage of projection is that give a large, brilliant, colorful image which has great impact. Next is the overhead projector. The overhead projector, many of the same points apply to overhead projection as were made about slide projection. It is possible to draw on the spoils while they are projected. So the presentation can be dynamic as well as enlarged by projection. But a disadvantage is that the light from the plantern is in the speaker's eyes. The opaque wave projector, usually not as bright and clear as other forms of projection, it has fallen into disuse. It can be used to show print material and books, film or video, and audio aids. Using film or video aids way are a great way to engage the audience and can increase the audience interest. Use film or video to bring motion, image, and audio into your presentation. Some tips when you are using audio or film or video aids is select short clip, maybe just only around 10 or 20 seconds on, or for maximum is 1 till 2 minutes to show video. uh, and also your video or your audio aids have to relate to your presentation purpose and clip content and relevance. Next is models. Models and samples can be very effective visual aids. Models need to be to any particular scale and are better as a demonstration aid if they are not very detailed. Next is summing up the advice. Whatever aid you use, there will be new ways to using visual aids, which are particularly appropriate in a book of general advice. So here, this is some point that I'm summing up from the advice when you are want to use visual aids. First is the art of visual aids is not a rigid routine, but a watchful and thoughtful sense of relevance. Second is the best general advice is to keep a careful watch on the principles outlined at the beginning of this chapter. Third, prepare with equal care the aids themselves, the notes to support them, the situation and the room. And the last is always do a last minute double check of the eighth, even if you know everything is fine. To make sure that you are not going to do something wrong when you are presenting. This is chapter 11 visual aids. Seems like conclusion from the all materials about visual aids. Visual aids help the audience listen because they get attention, give variety, make the talk easier to remember, save time when explaining complicated points, show things which can only be explained graphically, give the speaker something to do, remind the speaker of what comes next. And this is the disadvantage from using visual aid. First is interfere with personal contact between speaker and audience, can tell the whole story, can show abstract concepts such as entropy, distract the audience if not chosen carefully. When preparing visual aids, check that they are appropriate to the point you are making, perfectly clear and not confusing, simple and bold, big enough to be seen from the back, not distracting or with irrelevant details. Go cover up between each topic, seen long enough to be read and absorbed, not talked to and recorded in your notes. So this is the end of our presentation, our material. Maybe
Okay, Aisyah.
yes,
Aisyah,
yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you about the types of visual aids that you explained earlier.
Hmm.
So there are so many types of visual aids, right?
Yes.
And in your opinion, what is the most the better visual aids that the presenter can use?
The better what?
The better visual aids. So I mean, the from those types, which one that you think it will be better for the presenter to use that?
I think I think all of the type of visual aids that I mentioned before is important, but from my experience when I'm presenting something, I usually using handouts or and slide projection and film or audio, so and models, and using
Uh,
handout to make what outline the important point from our presentation, so to make me or even the audience easier to understand the material that we talk. And slide is in the maybe PowerPoint can to make the presentation look simple, more simple. So, and also the video and the audio, it's usually like the function that I have mentioned before is to make the audience more interested. So when we show a video or maybe with the audio, the 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 attention from the audience will be more. Well, we will get the attention from the audience. So
okay, I got
this
it.
is my answer. Did I answer your question, Amel? So
Yes.
uh, I also want to ask you, uh,
Okay.
uh, there are the advantage and disadvantage when we using visual aids, right? And
Yes.
uh, the salah satunya
Yes.
interfere, like in the first disadvantage are interfere with personal contact between speaker and audience. It's right when
Mm.
we are too focused to the what the maybe
The
the
visual aids.
uh, sometimes we miss to do personal contact with our audience. How do you, from your opinion, how we can fix it? How we can do the presentation more interested using visual aids, but not miss to do personal contact with
Yes.
speaker.
Yes, I got it. So actually, like what I said earlier, like we can't use too much visual aids because too much visual aids can distract our audience and it will ruin the presentation, of course. So so basically, it's always don't put too much visual aids. That's the key of the presentation. Is it's okay to use visual aids, but it's not okay to put too much visual aids because visual aids, like what I said, no matter how much you put visual aids, you can't explain all the details things, and we still need the speaker to explain all things, the details things. So don't use too much visual aids because it will be useless and it will ruin the contact between the speaker and the audience. That's man.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I guess that's it.
Yes.
Okay, I will close the presentation. Thank you. Thank you to Aisyah too because
Yes. Thank you so much.
the presentation went well. So thanks for everything and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.